Hey everyone, Mark here, and welcome to episode 14 of Mark Making. This is part 2 of my blacksmithing bench reconditioning project. Last time I worked on getting the legs cleaned up and painted and ready to go. I have to say, I'm pretty happy with how that turned out. This time I'm going to clean up the bench top itself and do final assembly. Let's get to it. As you can see, the top itself is in pretty rough shape. Years of neglect and abuse have left it rusty, covered in paint and oil and grease and grime. You'll also notice there are quite a few holes in the top, and I'm going to try to address that as well. So, let's see what we can do. Since many of the holes were drilled through the steel top and all the way through the wooden supports beneath, I figured I should start by trying to fill the holes in the wood itself before I tried to fill the holes from the top. So what I decided to do was cut dowels and use epoxy to set them into the wood itself and fill the holes. My plan was to use aluminum to fill the holes in the steel itself. I really thought this was going to work, but trying to melt the aluminum into the steel and have it stick wasn't working out very well. The aluminum just kept popping out. So, on to plan B. Plan B in this case was having my brother-in-law, who's a welder by trade, fill in the holes with actual steel. With the holes filled and ground down, it was time to start sanding the top. I was often working during the evenings, so to be a good neighbor and keep the noise down, I worked in the shop with the door closed. This created an enormous amount of dust that covered every surface. In hindsight, I should have done this outside on a weekend. Oh well, live and learn. With the top done, it was time to tackle the bottom of the steel. Thankfully, there was not nearly as much rust on the bottom, so this went much quicker and much cleaner. With the steel now clean and free of rust, it was time to apply paste wax to seal it up and prevent rust in the future. Now that the top is complete, it's time to attach the cross members to the legs. I bought new hardware for this to replace the old, crusty nuts and bolts and screws. The lumber had picked up some warp over time, so the top didn't want to lay flat. To address this, I got my handy belt sander out and went to work. With the top level, it was time to screw down the top and wrap this up. And that concludes the bench rebuild project. I now have a very sturdy, very heavy workbench that should handle anything I can throw at it. This is also going to make a great place to mount the post vise. And speaking of post vise, that should probably be my next project. And with that, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time.